Welcome to Chapter 6, Production and Operations Management. After studying the text and reviewing this PowerPoint, you should be comfortable in describing production and operations management, identifying and describing techniques that improve productivity, describing various operations management planning issues, explaining the use of PERT and Gantt charts to control manufacturing processes, as well as understanding world-class quality standards. The first step is to take a look exactly with what's involved with production. We're going to define production as the creation of goods and services using land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and knowledge. These areas are also called the factors of production. Production management definition is the management activities that is used to create goods. Lately, it's also been used to refer to manufacturing as well as service, but traditionally it is just referred to as manufacturing. There's also operations management, which is defined as that specialized area that concerns or transforms resources into goods and services. It includes areas such as human resources, technical skills, and/or innovation. There's also the idea of operations management and the service sector. It's an important part of the service sector in a hotel room, for example, hotel industry, for example. It could include quality of restaurants, elevators that run smoothly, a front desk operation that processes guests quickly, fresh cut flowers in the lobby, or maybe a fruit bowl in the room, as well as delighting customers by anticipating any other needs they may have. So what exactly is production and operations management? When a manufacturing company begins production of a new material, it has a choice as to the manufacturing processes that it will use. The type of process depends on the facility, the staff, and the information systems that are available. Each process has its advantages, and some are best at certain tasks. For example, large batches of finished goods or small numbers of custom items. When the decision is being considered of which manufacturing process to use, there are a number of questions that should be asked. What are the volumes to be produced? What are the requirements to make the product? Does the company manufacture a similar product? There are a number of basic manufacturing processes but they can select from. And production operations management is concerned with adding value to the organizational offerings. And typically it involves looking to improve value by mapping what does or does not work. It's important to not just look for what is broken or wasteful, though, but to also ask questions to identify what works, why does it work, and how can we extend this good to become more of the norm. In the next section, we're going to take a look at various advances in production techniques that help organizations to improve productivity and to add value to their offerings. One of those is by production processes. Production processes consist of taking the factors of production and utilizing those inputs to produce an organization's offerings. The organization adds value or utility to materials or processes. For example, form utility. The value producers add to make materials and the creation of finished goods or services is form utility. For example, turning silicon into computer chips or creating vacation packages. Organizations use several different processes to produce their offerings. For example, there is process manufacturing, which physically or chemically changes materials to make them usable or valuable to the consumer. There's also assembly processes, which puts together components in order to make a product. For example, car assembly lines. Now, production processes are either continuous or intermittent. Continuous processes is a production process in which long production turns out goods on a continuous basis. For example, a restaurant could have an assembly line, for example, a conveyor belt that continuously lowers eggs into boiling water for 3 minutes and then lifts them out on a continuous basis. There's also an intermittent process, which is when a production run is short and machines are adjusted to make different products. For example, in a restaurant, you might have an oven or a toaster, which could be utilized to make different products. Traditionally, organizations were designed to produce offerings efficiently and inexpensively. Lately, though, in response to growing competition locally, nationally, as well as globally, the ultimate goal of operations management, Briscoe, I'm getting to that, hold on. The ultimate goal of operations management has evolved to provide high-quality goods and services instantaneously in response to customer demand. This leads us to looking into developments in making companies more competitive. One of the issues involved as far as developments in making companies more competitive was the use of computer-aided design and manufacturing processes. For example, you have CAD. CAD is the use of computers to design products. Then you have CAM. CAM is the use of computers in the manufacturing of products. Both of these processes save the organization time and money and allows for more customized products. You also have CIM, which is an integration, a combination of both CAD and CAM processes. Lately, there is a new process that has come about as a result of technology, which is where CAD and CAM involve taking the unnecessary away from raw materials. This new technology, 3D printers, is a technology which involves creating or adding together to make a final product. For example, you can use a 3D printer to create human organs, human tissue, by using materials to create the different cellular levels all the way up to the actual organ that could be utilized in transplant surgeries. There's also flexible manufacturing processes. These are with the design of machines to do multiple tasks. The machines can produce more than one product, which again saves the organization time and money. There's also lean manufacturing, which is the production of goods using less of everything compared to a mass production item. There's less human effort, less defects, less engineering efforts, less space, and the need to carry less inventory. There's also mass customization processes, and this is where an organization can tailor products to meet the needs of a larger number of individual customers. For example, Nike does this, as does Levi's, where you can order a custom pair of shoes or custom pair of jeans online. Now, this has created a trend in manufacturing and services to better satisfy customers by enabling them to get exactly what they want when they want it. In the next section, we're going to look at some critical issues in operations management. Planning. So the next stretch of the trip is critical issues in operations management planning. Nice picture. So one of those in operational planning is facility location. Now, it's very important to know that operations management planning is the effort to help solve many of the problems in the service and manufacturing sectors. The resources they use may differ, but with the service and manufacturing, but the management issues are very similar. For example, facility location. This is the process of selecting a geographic location for a company's operations. Issues such as labor cost in the area, resources, transportation, proximity to suppliers are all considerations. There's one issue that is the reason why there are not a lot of manufacturing facilities in Allegheny County. Number one, there is no north-south highway. So it's going to take organizations longer if they had a facility in Allegheny County in order to get the goods to a north-south highway in order to transport it to different parts of the country. There's also the issue of reducing cost when choosing a location. Another issue with location concerns the rapid evolution of communications technology. Some rapidly growing organizations do very little of the actual production themselves and have opted to outsource various stages of production. Even if they do their own production, though, in order to be competitive, some organizations have had to move part of their operations overseas. This has led to organizations needing to adopt an internet-focused strategy that will enable them to remain competitive in a constantly changing and evolving environment. Another issue, in addition to facility location, is facility layout, is materials requirement planning and purchasing. Materials requirement planning is a computer-based operations management system that uses sales forecasts to make sure parts and materials are available when needed. Enterprise resource planning, ERP, is an updated version of materials requirement planning. It combines all areas such as finance and human resources into a single software program, enabling an organization to better deal with the issue of materials requirement and materials as well as resource planning. There's also purchasing, which is the function that searches for high quality materials, finds the best suppliers, and negotiates the best prices for quality goods and services. Another issue involving with operations management planning deals with inventory control. There are a couple of different ways that you can deal with this issue. For example, there's just-in-time inventory control, which is a production process in which a minimum of inventory is kept on hand and needs are delivered right as products are needed. It saves the warehouse space and saves money, and it's usually done with a computer system. Now, part of the issue involves with controlling the manufacturing process. Again, if you're talking about just-in-time inventory control, or if you're talking about, okay, how do I make sure I'm using my time the most effectively, you have the use of PERT and Gantt charts to control manufacturing processes. A PERT chart is called PERT because it stands for Program, Evaluation, and Review Technique. And it's a method for analyzing the task involved in completing a given project. It involves estimating the time needed to complete tasks and projects, and the steps used include analyzing the sequencing tasks that need to be done, estimating the time needed to complete each task, the drawing of a PERT network illustrating the information from the first two steps, and identifying the critical path. The critical path is a very important part, and it's called critical because it's the series of tasks that take the longest to complete, and the term critical is used because any delay anywhere along the critical path could cause a project to be late. It's very interesting if you can see how, if you look at a PERT chart or a Gantt chart, how you'd be able to utilize either one with a school project to make sure that if you're working in a team or a group, to make sure that you're using the best use of your resources and the best amount of time in order to complete the task the most effectively and the most efficiently. Here's a sample diagram for understanding a PERT chart. You have the different steps, you have what's involved, and you also have the critical path, which again could cause a project to be late if you have a delay along any one of the critical paths. For Gantt charts, a Gantt chart is named after the individual who first came up with it, and it's a more basic strategy used by organizations in a bar graph that shows what projects are being worked on and how much has been completed at any one given time. Usually a computer program is utilized for both a PERT and a Gantt chart. With the Gantt chart program, managers can trace the different parts of the production process minute by minute to determine which tasks are on time and which are behind. so adjustments can be made to allow the company to stay on schedule. For example, if you were to utilize it for a scope project, for example, a business plan, how unique, what you'd be able to do is you could have at different stages people tell you where they are with the progress. Then the manager, the team leader, can take a look at the Gantt chart and see, okay, here's where we are in the process involved in completing the project, and here's what we need to do in order to stay on track. Oops, we fell behind in this one part. Maybe a team member was sick or had something that took them away from working on something. Well, now the manager knows that, the team manager, the team leader, and arrangements can be made in order for the team to stay on track and to stay on schedule. The next part is quality control. Now, quality control is an important part of production operations management. Quality is defined by consistently producing what the customer wants while reducing errors before and after delivery to the customer. This is a never-ending process of continuous improvement. This leads organizations to adopt quality control standards. One of those quality control standards is statistical quality control, which is a process used to continually monitor all phases of the production process to ensure it is a quality product from the start. There's also what's known as a statistical process control, which is a process of testing statistical samples of products, components at each stage, so deviations can be corrected. One of the ways that you can do this is through what's known as a Deming cycle. And a Deming cycle is a quality control approach where you plan, do, check, and act, and it is in order to find potential problems before the product gets to the customer, so you can keep it from becoming an actual issue. Six Sigma is another control process which sets a benchmark of 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Now imagine your business plan project is somewhere between 25 or more pages. Sometimes they get up to 50 pages. Now imagine only having 3.4 mistakes in that 25 to 50 page paper for every 1 million opportunities of an error. And that gives you an idea of the level of quality that is looking for in order to be a Six Sigma certified quality product. There's also what's known as the Baldrige Award. Baldrige Awards is a set of awards given based on quality. It was created in 1987 and named for the Secretary of Commerce. Now, as opposed to the previous three, the statistical quality control, statistical process control, and Six Sigma, the Baldrige Award is when a company must show quality in the areas of leadership, strategic planning, customer and market focus, information and analysis, human resources, process management, as well as business results. One more area of quality control deals with ISO 9000. ISO 9000 is a worldwide federation of national standards. It involves over 140 countries, and they have set global quality measures. And the ISO 9000 name is the common name given to quality management and assurance standards. Areas markets such as the European Union demands that companies who want to do business with them inside the EU must be certified by these standards. Another set of standards is the ISO 14000. And this is similar to the ISO 9000, but addresses environmental standards. For a company to be certified in ISO 9000 and ISO 14000, it would mean that they would have a world-class management system in both quality and environmental standards. So as we take a look at the gratuitous puppy pictures, Ziva and Briscoe, remember that. It's important to keep in mind that in closing, in practice, much of the production and operations management work that I've seen has involved the search for excellence or perfecting an existing state by focusing efforts on eliminating waste or focusing on what is broken or not working, such as the 7 types of waste, and looking into closing the gap between the ideal and the perfect state as defined in the existing business standard, such as Six Sigma quality. And that becomes the center of activity. The focus is actually on what we do and specifically on how we do it. Rarely, if ever, is the why talked about or challenged. I've never seen a production operations management project involving the ground floor in questions around who we are, what we believe, why do we exist, how can we put our ding in the universe, and what will be our lasting contribution to the world. It involves recognizing and managing the relationships an organization has with its various and multiple stakeholders. What we are discovering and taking a look at what's involved in and what's missing with production and operations management is that there is a bigger idea than continuous improvement around processes. The emerging idea is the notion of engaging the whole system in conversations around elevating and aligning and extending strengths to create positive organizations that achieve great things because they co-create meaningful futures together. These conversations move beyond continuous improvement and into the space of design, which is both rational, how and what, but is much more about the heart, about the emotional why questions of making a difference to people's lives and society and the world. It is organizations as a creative community. Perhaps one of the most recognized authors on the Toyota production system, Kiyoshi Suzuki, wrote extensively on the use of Kaizen in Japanese factories in his superb book, The New Shop Floor Management, from 1993. It's on Amazon. This was all about the how of improving our work, the rational stuff. Then about 10 years later, he wrote another book called Results from the Heart, in which he had progressed his thinking to where he said that in order for people to be fully effective at work, they need to be engaged from the heart around values, care, vision, and the meaning of their work. He saw every person as a president of their own company, not just an operator of processes. He also said that when people are fully in command of their work, they partner with each other as co-creators around what we do, how we do it, as well as the most important, around the why we're doing it. Some of these issues we've talked about the employees that will be a good fit in organizations that are expecting that, as well as employees that might not be able or might not be up to the task of assuming that much self-responsibility. It's also involving some issues we're going to get to in future weeks. As I close, as always, if you have any questions related to this chapter, please feel free to email, text, or call, or just simply bring them up in class. Thank you.